Hey, Your Worship, we're ready to go. Perhaps we will just have Michael Jennings, I'll message him, send a message out to the public and just let them know the video will be uploaded.
Okay, I think he's on this meeting, but I'm sure he'll get that out there. So we're ready to start now then, Dina? Sorry, was that a yes? Okay, Councillor Belanger, I'm about to start the meeting. What?
My question is, this is a council meeting with comment and question period. How are we able to go forward without the public's involvement?
I don't believe anybody has registered to speak today, but Dina, could you speak to that, please?
That's correct. There's nobody signed up, but if they were signed up, they'd still be able to participate in the Zoom meeting and it would be recorded and uploaded.
Okay, with that, we will I'll call this meeting to order. I will ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. If at some point throughout the meeting you find that you do, please declare it at that time. Item 3.1, regular meeting of council minutes of July 27th. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held July 27th, 2021 are hereby adopted as circulated. Are there any corrections to those minutes? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 3.2, special meeting of council minutes, August 5th. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. Resolve that the minutes of the special meeting of council held August 5th, 2021 are hereby adopted as circulated. Are there any corrections to these minutes? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 3.3, special emergency meeting of council minutes, August 6th. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. Resolved that the minutes of the special emergency meeting of council held August 6, 2021 are hereby adopted as circulated. Are there any corrections to these minutes? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Deputations, presentations, petitions, and public meetings. We do have 3 presentations today. This morning, we will be starting off with Mr. Jeffrey Abrams and Ms. Janice Atwood-Petkovsky, who will be in attendance to present to Council the Integrity Commissioner's annual report for the town of Wasaga Beach. And my apologies to Janice. I do that to your last name every time.
Well, good morning, Madam Mayor. The good news is Janice is not joining us today, so she wouldn't have heard that.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Not that she hasn't before. She sends her regrets. She's otherwise engaged today, but you know her well, and so we both prepared this report and are delivering it to you. And it's a good news report. We're happy to say there's certainly been marked improvement since the last time we were before you, about 2 years ago, to provide a periodic report. If you don't mind, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Integrity Commissioner's role. You know as well, but those that might be watching might be unfamiliar. And as you know, and people should know, it's a very broad role, the role of an Integrity Commissioner. It ranges from assisting our client municipalities with the preparation of their codes of conduct and other elements of the framework that guides ethical behavior. We provide education, we provide training. Most importantly, we believe we provide advice, discreet advice to individual members when there's a question on a gray area or interpretation. And we favor a lot of engagement through advice because it is the best way to prevent concerns from developing. And those concerns are called complaints. And that is also part of our role. We're the independent party to whom members of the public, members of council staff can submit a complaint that a member of council or a local board has not met the standards of the Code of Conduct or the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act or some other policy that governs ethical behavior. We take those complaints. We do our best to resolve them. We have the ability to do that, but if necessary, we conduct an investigation and we will report out if there are findings of transgressions that we find. All of our work is done under a statutory cloak of confidentiality. It's a good thing. I mean, it creates an environment in which people feel safe and free to reach out for advice, or they feel safe and free to make a complaint. So we have an independent role and a confidential role, and it's one of the things that guides the nature of the report before you today. You'll see we don't do a cut and thrust of every engagement we've had with the municipality. It's more in a summary way. And to summarize our activity with the town over the term covered by the report, we did do education and training in this segment. Way back in October of 2019, we provided education and training to the town's local boards on the Code of Conduct and Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. With respect to advice, as I mentioned, it's confidential and it's to be encouraged. In the period covered by the report, we've had 18 requests for advice and responded to 18 requests for advice, and we think that is a healthy level of engagement. We're happy to see that. On the complaint front, as I said at the outset, we are quite pleased from our perception or our perspective at how well things are going. The standard is not perfection, of course, but things do seem, from our perspective, to be going well. We have fielded 14 complaints in the period covered by the report, but each one of those was resolved. And when we resolve a complaint, we provide detailed reasons. We call them disposition letters, and the complainant gets to know and understand why we've come to the conclusions we have, and as well the affected member of council, as a courtesy, is given an anonymized version of that in most cases, the disposition letter. So that they were all resolved. That's a good thing. You haven't seen us before you're delivering a report in the term. So that's a very high-level summary way our activity with you. But one of the benefits of an integrity commissioner appearing periodically before a client municipality is to say, well, here are the themes that are happening around the province, not just in Wasaga Beach. And of course, things like non-disparagement continues to be an issue in councils, where individuals say and do things that are inappropriate and conflict with the code of conduct. Recognizing conflicts of interest, that too is a theme around the province. But there's been a development, of course, and you're well aware of it, I'm sure, and that is the Collingwood inquiry, the conclusion last November, with a massive report, so some 306 recommendations, I think, many of which we support, not all of them, but many of which we support. And with respect to the avoidance of conflicts of interest, well, there you'll see actually the text, the language that we have been proposing that municipalities adopt. It both recognizes that it's not just the technical compliance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act that matters, very narrow statute, very narrow classifications, but a councillor's broader responsibility to avoid conflicts of interest. And one of the biggest benefits of the text that the inquiry is recommending is the inclusion of something called a transparency disclosure, which I know you members are aware of, and that is in those circumstances where it may appear to be to someone that you may have a conflict of interest, but it's not an interest that arises to a conflict of interest. You can file a very public statement that says, look, here's the relationship you're talking about. It isn't a conflict of interest. If I participate, I've checked with the integrity commissioner, and I am going to participate, but I'm making it transparent. Here in the brightness of the sunlight, I'm disclosing what the interest is, and I am going to participate because that's my job, to participate and to represent my community before council. In fact, you may recall that the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, in its last series of amendments, included a series of principles, one of which is the recognition that it is a good thing for councils to be composed of people who are active in the community and business and social endeavors and otherwise. And so it's not just the interest that is disqualifying, it's when that interest rises to a level that a reasonable person would consider to be problematic. And so the inquiry spoke to that. The good news is your code of conduct already includes it, and you're ahead of the game, and nothing need be done. Speaking still to developments around the province, members' recognition of their role as distinct from the role of staff continues to be an issue across the province. It's important that members recognize the role, the leadership role, and that staff too recognize their responsibility to take the direction from council to implement those decisions. And lastly, you're likely also aware that there was a consultation commenced by the province on integrity commissioners and codes of conduct. The public consultation period has ended. Janice and I, prepared the MICO, the Municipal Integrity Commissioner of Ontario's submission, along with a subcommittee, and submitted that. The one takeaway from that submission we have is that the consultation seemed to have commenced with a target on the most egregious behaviors of council members in a couple of situations, harassing kinds of things, very bad behaviors. And we did include in our submissions a caution that the act should not be amended in such a way that every engagement with a member of council is perceived to be of that kind of nature, the most egregious kind, because to approach the regime that way would be to make it more litigious, to make it more less amenable to resolution. And so we did make a series of suggestions for improvement, but that was the one caution, that it not be driven to that. And I think, I mean, the one thing I haven't said is that it seems that what was being considered was the ability to remove a member from office for this kind of egregious behavior. And so that may well come about in the form of legislative amendments, but we are hopeful that it won't apply to the run-of-the-mill engagements that members of the public have with members of council. So that's a very quick overview of what's occurred in Wasaga Beach and also around the province, at least from the lens of your integrity commissioner. I'm happy to take any questions, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And it definitely is a good news story. There's a lot of teamwork going on between our council and our staff. And I think the great things happening in our community are proof of that. So definitely lots of good things happening here. I will open it up to council members. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the report and the presentation. I did have a couple questions, very brief, if I may. One is, somewhere in there you mentioned 14 complaints, and I understand anonymity, and I'm fine with that. But I go, are those from? Could we assume they're from different individuals or organizations, or is there a? Because I also then want to talk about frivolous and vexatious. So. Is there any way we can know that without knowing individuals or any of that kind of stuff? Or is that important? You can tell me it's not if you prefer.
Well, let me answer the second part first, and the second part may answer the first part, because I can't tell you exactly whom. Has there been an individual who may have submitted more than one? Yeah, but it wasn't the trend. It wasn't, you didn't get 14 complaints from one individual. But in terms of the notion of frivolous or vexatious complaints, we have built into our protocol a bit of, we call it triage. And given our independence, we have the ability to, and the responsibility to make the decision about whether any particular complaint should be pursued in the public interest. And so if something is frivolous or vexatious, that would be a clear signal to us that it wouldn't be in the public interest to pursue it. But it's rarely the case that there is something that is frivolous or vexatious, that on point, that is excluded on that basis. But we do have this public interest perspective. And we also have the ability, as I've mentioned a couple of times, to resolve complaints. So what happens quite frequently is someone will say, this event occurred. And we'll go through our triage. Yes, it's not frivolous, it's not vexatious. Yes, it's something that's within the jurisdiction of the integrity commissioner. In other words, it's not about staff. It's not about another level of government. It's not about, it's not an operational thing. It's about members of council or local boards. So, okay, so now we have jurisdiction and we examine the matter and we're able to have a conversation, maybe not literal, maybe it's an exchange in email, with the complainant and say to them, okay, if those are the facts, then if they were proved to be true, that still would not amount to a violation of the code of conduct, or If it did, it would be something de minimis, or if it did, it wouldn't reach that level of public interest. And a lot of the time, what we'll get is, oh, that explanation was helpful. I understand it now. So the context is very important. We take a purposeful approach to almost everything we do. And so when we get a complaint, the purpose is to make clear what the responsibility of members of council are. And if indeed it appears on the face of the complaint that there is a there, we'll take it to another level. Now, it's also possible for a member of council to say, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have. And to the extent that we're satisfied that the member recognizes it, that they've learned from it, that maybe they volunteered an apology or some other rectification, that too would result in the conclusion of a complaint. But for obvious reasons, I can't go into the details of each one of those episodes.
Yeah, and I wasn't asking for that. If I could just do a supplemental, Your Worship. Yeah, and that is, I remember when you kind of came on board for us, and I believe there was some feedback and not always positive on it. So I look and I go, from the point of view of the decision that was made previously by our council to bring you on board, I think it's been a brilliant choice because it leads to independent review, because there's no direct correlation between council and yourselves. You're an independent arbitration committee, so to speak. And I also think it bodes very well that when you talked about the MECO, that you and Janice are the key movers on this. And I think that's, it bodes, it reflects well on the decision we made. And finally, I would like to thank Collingwood for funding a huge report that basically kind of reflects everything that we've been doing right from the start. So little tongue in cheek there. I'm sorry that Collingwood had to go through any of that, but it does show that we have been ahead of the curve right from the start. So I thank you for that. And it's great. So look forward to hearing this again in another year or so.
Okay, Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you to Jeffrey and Janice for preparing the report. And thank you, Councillor Foster, for saying some of the stuff that I was going to say, so I won't repeat it. But thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much, Jeffrey. And I will look for a mover and seconder to receive this report for information. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster. The council received the Integrity Commissioner's annual report from Principals Integrity for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously.
Have a good meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Our next presentation is Miss Melissa Twist, who is the Director of Regional Tourism, will be in attendance to present to Council the South Georgia Bay Tourism Update. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning. Am I able to share my screen with everyone?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so can everyone see that?
Yes,
Awesome.
we can.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about South Georgian Bay Tourism. My name is Melissa, and I am the Director of Regional Tourism for South Georgian Bay Tourism. Our organization role. South Georgian Bay Tourism is an in-destination education organization whose role is to enhance the visitor's experience through seamless connection between visitors and unique products and experiences. We are formally known as Georgian Triangle Tourism Association and was established in 1978. Our brand promise is to gently nudge and guide visitors within the region to seize their day by discovering unique places, activities, experiences, and people. South Georgian Bay Tourism will perform these functions by coordinating regional visitor services digitally and in person, creating in-destination content and fulfillment, developing routes, best ofs, and top 10s by bundling niche experiences, and leveraging the partnership with the business community. What differentiates South Georgian Bay Tourism is our consistent regional marketing. We are an association that brings our regional partners together. South Georgian Bay Tourism is unique as the 5 municipal partners collaborate between the areas. During COVID-19, collaboration has been a common theme and is something that the association has been doing for years. Collaboration brings benefits such as synergy, sharing resources, overcoming obstacles, and increasing awareness on the area. We work in partnership with Wasaga Beach Chamber and find ways to collaborate when possible, sharing resources and working together. South Georgian Bay Tourism developed a recovery and resiliency plan in 2020 to help support the local business community that was separated into 3 phases with 4 main pillars. Safety protocol and education, providing local businesses with the information necessary to properly follow government regulations. Leadership and consistent messaging, acting as a leader for South Georgian Bay and bringing people together to use consistent messaging in order to give clear information to the public. Marketing, focusing on inbound marketing and ensuring people feel safe when in the community, giving them things that they can see at each stage to ensure that they're following government rules. And ambassadors, using our local businesses and members of the community to help promote the area through social media. South Georgian Bay Tourism was able to leverage a tile grant, also leveraging money through RTO 7 funding, and also a Google ad grant as a non-for-profit to over $100,000. South Georgian Bay Tourism immediately responded to support local tourism business regardless of membership. We have worked on several different marketing initiatives such as ambassador staff, Feast on Great Taste of Ontario, video marketing, digital campaigns through Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, working with influencers and bloggers, radio campaigns, and I'll go into a little bit more of this in the further slides. Here are just some more actions to date from COVID-19. Here are some examples of some of the campaigns that we worked on last year. Live Like a Local, which was a fun, catchy kind of using animals as a playful way to get people to explore their own backyard. We also did a digital marketing campaign, which we called The New Normal. In total, this campaign served over 400,000 impressions, generating 4,592 clicks for an overall click-through rate of 1.07. We received a total of over 100,000 video views with an impression view-through rate of 28.8. South Georgian Bay Tourism was excited to announce complimentary listings for the entire tourism industry and our partnering municipalities for 2021. The most important for our membership is the complimentary listing. This is the single largest shift from our old model to our new. We are announcing that we offered complimentary basic listings to all tourism related businesses in South Georgian Bay as a pilot for 2021. A radical shift inspired by COVID-19 and the need to help businesses in new ways. We are well positioned to promote and support the tourism sector for as long as the recovery takes. Information marketing, creating and sharing those local stories that embrace all there is to see and do in this region. These will take various forms of unique experience to the latest top 10 lists. South Georgian Bay Tourism was also excited to announce the launch of its 2021 Four Seasons digital guide. All that great local tourism content that travelers are used to seeing, but in a handy digital form. I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in a later slide. Membership. South Georgian Bay Tourism has had a steady membership year over year with 12 new members in 2021 in Wasaga Beach, and that number is still growing. With the change of our association model, we have been able to maintain our enhanced members list members as there is now a reduced rate to continue membership with the association, which has made it more attainable for our businesses as their marketing budgets have been drastically affected due to COVID-19. It has been a very slow start to this year as we're now in the 8th month of the year, and most businesses have only been able to operate for just over a couple months in 2021. When talking about the future, a lot of businesses are feeling overwhelmed and are just focusing on the immediate. Members are truly the heart of our association. We have strong retention at South Georgian Bay Tourism as our members understand the importance of our association. We have members that have been a part of our association for over 30 years. We have monthly check-ins with our membership and give them the opportunity to speak directly to our board of directors about their concerns and feedback. It is important to be part of South Georgian Bay tourism because you are part of a community, not just in your own municipality, but for the whole region of South Georgian Bay. We continue to drive leadership from writing advocacy letters to different members of government on behalf of our member base, and being part of working groups such as South Georgian Bay Tourism Advisory Task Force that was reporting directly to the ministry on recommendations on how we can support the tourism industry. Education. We will lead projects and communication efforts to benefit our memberships and stakeholders, which differentiates South Georgian Bay in the travel market. We were able to host the tourism mini conference digitally and plan on hosting the conference again at the end of this year. We have added a dedicated page on our website to educate tourism related businesses within South Georgian Bay, as well as social platforms so that tourism related businesses can keep up to date with those resources. Revenue generation, establishing revenue generating opportunities for the organization through content partnership. The 2021 Recovery and Resiliency Plan continued, and this will continue into 2022 as well, is our Google AdWords. This is a year-round campaigns to include road trip giveaways, Four Seasons destination activities, fall experiences. We have a total annual budget of over $160,000. Content marketing, again, this is year-round, writing and sharing those pieces of content, showing content to people based off of their interests. Video marketing, again, year-round, creating 15 videos using progressive storytelling techniques. Photo marketing, again, year-round, photo shoots to enhance our storytelling content. And digital marketing programs, content-specific ads highlighting content on our website, driving leads to those members' profiles. So our Google AdWords, as I've mentioned, this is new to our association as of last year. This is a grant that we are provided because we are a non-for-profit. So this is a huge benefit to our members because that's a monthly budget that is driving traffic to our website with the ultimate goal of creating awareness for our businesses, our business profiles. Again, here is some examples of that storytelling. So Local Secrets, which is our blogs that are featured on our website. We have weekly blogs that we promote through our social media. And here are 3 examples of blogs that featured Wasaga Beach, the best beaches in South Georgian Bay, explore out of the norm, and biking in South Georgian Bay. Our Four Seasons guide. So visitors will start seeing QR codes in high traffic areas around the region so they can download the guide. Will be easy for visitors and help steer this around this amazing region. The Four Seasons guide is a dynamic platform that provides destination information and travel tools to visitors easily and efficiently. The guide offers a safe environment for visitors to explore the area and provide them with travel options. South Georgian Bay Tourism wanted to create a guide that was dynamic, user-friendly, and provided interactive content about all the great things there is to see and do in this Four Seasons destination. Due to the change in travel behaviors, we needed to reimagine the guide for the future that is more technology-based. South Georgian Bay Tourism was also excited to announce the launch of its newest partnership aimed to helping promote its locals and visitors with safe tourism while enhancing their exploration experience with the Driftscape App, a Canada-based tourism app company. With over 20 South Georgian Bay tourism highlights currently mapped on Driftscape App and more to come, local and visitors of the Bay are now able to tour, explore, and discover the heritage of Collingwood, the quaint villages of Blue Mountain and Meaford, the sandy shores of Wasaga Beach, and the rustic charm of Clearview, and many others in this hidden gem from the comfort of their fingertips. It's a game-changing approach to tourism. South Georgian Bay Tourism is recognized as a four-season tourism destination, working to enhance, support, and strengthen experiential tourism products and offerings. The key message is that even though we provide sophisticated digital tourism marketing initiatives, we still have feet on the street responding to direct inquiries at key tourism attractions with the ambassador staff. Here's just a quick overview of our social media. So we have our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, our newsletter with over 3,000 subscribers, and our Google ad campaigns, which I previously mentioned. Now I'd like to open it up to any questions, and I thank you and look forward to working together in the future.
Thank you, Melissa, for your presentation and for the work that you're doing in our region. And I will open it up to members of council if you have any comments or questions. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, that was a very impressive presentation. I was wondering if that presentation is available for us to upload to our Facebook site or our town website, because it does show the outreach that we are doing in conjunction with your organization to promote tourism within the region and within Wasaga Beach. And of course, like a lot of municipalities, a lot of the public says you're not doing enough for tourism or you're not for tourism. And I think this really shows that we are. And those dollar figures of $14,000 a month, $168,000 a year, which are being spent to promote our region and our town, is very impressive. So that my comments and my question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Melissa, did you want to answer that? I know, I think Caitlin, our Economic Development Officer, is probably on the Zoom call as well, and perhaps she can speak to how she sees herself sharing that information.
Sure.
I think she's here. There she is. Good morning, Caitlin.
Hi. Good morning. Yeah, we can certainly share, if with Melissa's permission, we can certainly share those slides and perhaps also write a little article that can go with it as well.
Okay, that's great. Councillor, who's other? I know I saw another card. I think it was Councillor Foster. You were next.
Yes, Your Worship. Just a quick question for Melissa on the Google AdWords. How is that monetized? Is that like that's grant money from Google?
Yeah, so through, because we are a non-for-profit association, we are able to tap into this grant through TechSoup that allows us to have up to $14,000 to spend monthly on driving leads to our website.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Okay, Councillor Blanchet.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. I just wanted to suggest that given Melissa and her organization and the fact that they work regionally, as that we embark on our rebranding initiative for the town, that we make a point of seeking their input as well. I think it would be very beneficial, given they probably have visibility to a lot of successful endeavors that may be included in our rebranding strategy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. We'll leave that with Caitlin to look into. And Deputy Mayor Bray, I believe you're next.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that presentations like this really highlight that we're all in this together. I really see government's role as, and nonprofits like you to bring visitors to our region, because small business will never have the budget to market like you do. So if you can bring people to us, then I think it's up to the individual businesses, to actually get them into the door and to spending money. But this really does highlight, we're in it all together. The information, the resources for COVID, are huge. As you say, many tourism businesses have only had a couple of months this year, and 0 months last year, and they really are struggling. So it's nice to see that the 5 municipalities are working together through you to get people up here and get them enjoying things while they're here. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments of Melissa? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Melissa. And I will look for a mover and seconder for this motion to receive for information. Councillor Belanger and Councillor Kinney. The council received the South Georgian Bay Tourism Update from the Director of Regional Tourism for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you again, Melissa, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our next presentation is Mr. David Stavinga, President and CEO, Mr. Trent Gow, Geosands Inc. Chair, and Mr. Brandon Weiss, Vice President of Finance and Regulatory, will be in attendance to present to Council the Geosands Inc. Annual General Meeting. So welcome, Mr. Stavinga.
Thank you, Marinina.
Morning.
I'll just share my screen here and bring up Trent for you. Okay.
Are we on? Can they see this one?
Yeah, they can see that. You can just verify. You just click the button.
Good morning, Mr. Gow.
Good morning. First of all, can you all see the slide that we have up, the starting slide of our AGM so-called?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, thank you. With me is Dave Stavinga, who you've just met. He's the president of our three corporations, and Brandon Weiss, who is our vice president of finance and regulatory. My role is relatively small, but important in terms of, first of all, thanking those people very much for what they've done over the past year and all of the staff. It's amazing to me as a director, and as I've gotten to know the organizations, how efficient the people we have are in providing efficient, inexpensive, and high quality service and high quality care to people of Wasaga Beach. I think we should all be very proud of them. And starting out, that is our agenda. I think there's nothing I really need to elaborate. I'm going to make a couple of further remarks, then Dave is going to present, and then Brandon is going to present. Oh, you think I might learn it by now? This is our corporate structure. I think you all know it. So that Geosands is the holding corporation. I'm privileged to be the chair. We have the two other groups, Wasaga Distribution, which does is the regulated organization, Wasaga Resource Services, which provides all of the overview in terms of administration and compensation. I would like to note one thing. These are the three boards of directors that you see. We had another director on Wasaga Distribution, Mr. Cal Patterson, who we lost recently. I just want to say how wonderful his contribution was to our organization and how much he is going to be missed. 2020 was a year of change. Last year, Mr. Keith McAllister was here as the CEO. We're now have Dave, and Keith has retired. And we continue, I think, as the others will present, to serve, I believe, the citizens of Wasaga Beach to the best of our ability, and I think they do an outstanding job. There are some resolutions that we will address just in passing. There were minutes of the last AGM that were adopted by you on September 29th. We have Colin Barrows as our auditors. Last year at the AGM, a representative of that organization was with us. We are going to have an RFP for a new choice of the new auditors next year. I think it's important, obviously, to go out to the community and to the professional community and to do that. We have financial statements that Brand is going to speak with, and the directors, as you know, are appointed through a shareholder's direction by yourselves. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Dave Stavinga, who is much more articulate and professional than me.
Thanks, Trent. Good morning, Council. I'm pleased to be here today to share some facts with Geosands with you. The board of directors and the staff is very proud of our companies, and we're doing quite well. So Geosands is a financially healthy and strong financial foundation to allow us to continue to explore growth and opportunities in our unregulated and regulated businesses. A strategic plan was completed in 2020 and we're currently working towards completing the priorities and the goals identified in the plan. Industry benchmarking continues to indicate better than industry average performance. Our current financial outlook beyond 2020 is healthy, and we declared a dividend of $305,000 for 2020. Geosands continues to deliver exceptional customer service with a focus on safety and system reliability, focusing on delivering our capital investment plans. We'll take a look at our strategic plan titled Growing Together. In 2020, we're pleased to announce that the strategic plan was approved and completed with the support from Strategy Corporation. The plan Growing Together defines the future goals and objectives of the corporation for the year 2021 to 2026. Our vision is to be growth-oriented, community-focused organization that is a leader in the Ontario energy sector. Our updated mission is to provide customers with excellent products and services in a competitive, safe, reliable, and efficient manner, while recognizing our community environmental responsibilities to operate a distribution network that supports Ontario's energy future by delivering obligations mandated by the Ontario government and other regulatory agencies, while seeking to grow the utility through non-regulated subsidiaries. Over the next 5 years, we'll be focusing on growing our organization in a way that meets the needs of our community now and for the future. We developed our strategic plan, Growing Together, and it sets out the path for growth and prosperity of Geosands and its subsidiaries. To ensure we are growing together, we consulted more than 800 people across the spectrum of our stakeholders and our community. We consulted members of council, board of directors, and our dedicated frontline staff. Of note, you'll also expect us to be focused on environmental sustainability. And just like in our mission, we are committed to our environmental responsibilities. From the slide, you can see our 3 strategies. Our first strategy, to define how Geosands would like to grow and pursue the growth. This priority will help us to create a clear definition of growth and a framework to evaluate growth opportunities that has stakeholder buy-in to assess and pursue opportunities. The second priority, to prepare the organization to support this growth, is to prepare the organization from frontline staff to the board of directors to support the growth. And our third priority, to strengthen the relationships underpinning this growth. It will ensure that the relationships with key external stakeholders, the shareholder, customers, and the community are maintained and improved upon. The achievement of these priorities will lead to Geosands fulfilling its mission and vision. In 2021, the utility will look to develop an investment framework with the board and shareholder collaboration. We'll complete our 2022-2026 distribution system plan. We will pursue discovery phase to enhance digital experience for our customers, develop a governance capacity framework, and continue to monitor and pursue non-regulated growth opportunities. The strategic plan is available on our website, and it goes into further detail there if anybody would like to pursue that. Operational performance. Industrial benchmarking continues to indicate better than industrial average performance. We'll look to a few key performance indicators, those being the OEB scorecard, the OEB PEG report, and the WDI customer survey. So this is a copy of their scorecard. It's also available on our website. It's a little bit busy, but we'll get through it. The scorecard is published every year by the Ontario Energy Board from data submissions by LDCs. And the utility scorecards track and show comprehensive performance information for each utility in Ontario over a range of time for a specific year. As We note in 2019, WDI met or exceeded all performance targets, except for system reliability. I'll speak to that on the next slide. WI remains committed to providing its customers with the most reliable service at the least possible cost. And the 2020 distribution scorecard is expected to be released in September 2021. So when we look at our system performance, when we evaluate the system performance and reliability, SAIDI, or the System Average Interruption Duration Index, is commonly used and provides us with the average duration of outages per customer on an hourly basis for the year. It's important to distinguish between actual, which is our overall customer experience, and adjusted, our own system performance. So in 2020, WDI experienced several large outages. During one event, a tornado warning was issued. High winds caused downed trees that resulted in significant damage to lines. WDI has filed a major event report to the OAB, as this is outside of our control. With this event excluded from 2020 SAIDI calculations, so approximately 50%. The 2020 SAIDI is close to adjusted industry average reported in 2019. Comparatively speaking, as seen on the slide on the left, WDI's 2019 adjusted SAIDI of 1.39 aligns with other cohorts in Simcoe County. On the other side, 2019-2022 reliability line indicators graph, we recognized the increase from 2019 to 2020. Because of this, it led us to more vegetation control and increased tree trimming in vulnerable areas. Currently, we're forecasting a downward trend in 2021 without any major events to date. The performance assessment or cost benchmarking, the OAB benchmarks electricity distributors' total cost performance. This is called the PEG report. PEG is from Pacific Economic Group, who commissions the report. The Ontario Energy Board releases an annual PEG report. We expect our next PEG report also next month, September. WDI has consistently been ranked one of the most efficient distributors in the province, currently at minus 45%, which is fourth best in the province. Companies with a larger negative difference between actual and predicted costs are better cost performers. So looking at the graph, you don't really want to be on the positive side like Hydro One. So we're looking pretty good there. In 2021, the OAB is set to introduce a new outcome-based performance measurement framework. So we look forward to that. Our customer survey. In 2021, our customer survey was conducted by Red Hat Media Solutions with 14 other participating electricity utilities. 401 random surveys were conducted for residential and general customer services, general customer services. So customer satisfaction surveys were conducted also every 2 years. So in 2017 and 2019, and 2021. Our index score was calculated to be 81% for 2021, which is a decrease from last year of 82% from the 2019 survey. In 2021, the customer index score for WDI is 2% higher than all the other LDCs. Most of the LDC's confidence interval scores of plus minus 4.8% overlap. Overall, we're pleased with the results. But many of the respondents, probably around 30%, indicate that they have no familiarity with WDI. As noted in our strat plan, we are looking at improving our communication to our customers. We believe this will help our overall customer satisfaction results. The effects that COVID have had on our business in 2020. COVID has had a profound effect on everybody worldwide. Ontario's electrical sector adopted to ever-changing demands. The LDC recognized the changes that our customers were facing and worked closely with government to provide solutions to those in need. Some of the things we did at WDI is we closed the front doors temporarily to protect our employees, extended the winter disconnection moratorium for non-payment until July 31st. We provided flexible payment agreements to our customers. We provided $45,000 in funds from the Emergency Assistance Program to assist our customers that have been directly affected. And we implemented the government flat cost of energy rates at 10.1 cents per kilowatt hour from April to May 31st. And this changed to 12.8 cents per kilowatt hour effective June 1st, November 1st, 2020. We also offered a choice to our customers to choose between time of use rates and tiered rate billing structures. Under our investment programs in 2020, approximately 2.1 million was invested in physical plant. Approximately 400,000 of that was contributed by developers. We continue to invest in both physical plant and unregulated businesses related to the growth of the town, maintaining safety and reliability, and supporting unregulated growth. Our long-term planning is critical to ensure that assets that deliver power to our customers are in good condition and not prone to failure. Currently, our 5-year distribution plan is being updated. Proper planning will allow for the replacement program and ensure resources are efficiently allocated in consideration of long-term cost to our customers and value to our shareholder. For the year 2021, capital investments will include a $1 million investment for a new substation to support growth and system redundancies, and an additional $1.1 million required in 2022 for the station. That's off Sunnydale Road for Sunnydale Trails. A $1.2 million investment to support road widening for River Road West. A $1.7 million investment to support the renewal of aging equipment, approximately 120 poles, 25 transformers. And $3.4 million is allocated to support new residential and commercial development, approximately 620 lots. Our long-term goal will be to focus on renewal of plant and equipment while supporting the town of Wasaga Beach growth. And I'd like to introduce Brandon, who will go over a little financial report.
We're playing musical chairs here, and I think the music just stopped. Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Brandon Weiss, and I'm the Vice President of Finance and Regulatory. I'm just going to get this a little bit set up here. Yeah. So I'm here to provide a high-level overview of the consolidated financial statements and the financial performances for 2020 for Geosands Inc. I'm going to discuss a little bit of some peer comparisons from a cost perspective, and I'll finish with what I feel, what this means to the shareholder. When I get into the financial statements, I'm going to discuss some of the major components that I feel is important for council and some of the reasons for the year-over-year changes. So Geosands Inc. is primarily a municipally owned local distribution company, providing services to over 14,000 residential and commercial customers within Wasaga Beach and Simcoe County. We are predominantly a residential community with 94% of our overall customer base being residential customers. Through that, 80% of our distribution revenue comes from a residential customer base. The regulated business comprises of 95.5% of total assets, and this accounts for 85.5% of our earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. The non-regulated business provides us operational services to WDI, and it includes water heater rentals and construction services. When we are comparing monthly service charges to other distributors within Simcoe County, the utility has the lowest service charges for our residential and small commercial customers. Provincially, the utility has the 5th lowest residential rate in the province. Service charges provide us with the revenues to operate operate with and earn a return on. Our lower operating expenses per customer and lower annual operating expenses per customer and annual capital spend per customer results in lower rates. So as you can see, the utility has some of the lower rates within Simcoe County. It's also important to note that under the current regulated environment, capital spend is what drives your earnings and the value to the utility. So with prudent capital spending and the appropriate planning, and we're talking appropriate planning, we're talking 20 years out, the current annual capital spend could be looked at as an opportunity to the shareholder. When we're looking at the financial growth trends for the purpose of illustrating other revenues and distribution revenues, construction revenues can fluctuate. So we remove those for the purpose of the trend, and specifically, and also similarly, sale of power. Sale of power fluctuates, and there were regulation changes in that impacted the year-over-year variances. So when we're looking from 2016 to 2020, what we're seeing is a 5-year 15% growth, and annually we're looking at 3% per year. When we're looking to the right, when you see the EBITDA, I'm going to speak to the decline in 2020 over the next few slides. However, since 2016, we have consistently delivered a relatively stable EBITDA, and this provides us with the resources to provide the shareholder a dividend and reinvest into our own capital programs. The overall goal is to increase the value of the corporation. The consolidated statements of Geosands Inc. come from the operational businesses of WDI and WRSI. So the operational businesses are individually audited, and the interim testing is done and put in place for the audited test controls, where the auditors are generally focusing on the higher risk areas. An unqualified audit opinion was issued from Baker Tilly, and this indicates that the financial statements are free from material misstatements for all 3 audits. The audit report was dated April 22nd, 2021 for all the subsidiaries, and this was approved by the board of directors on April 29th, 2021. A no issues management letter was presented to all entities, and this indicates a strong system of controls that are in place. The audit results are fairly represented in all material aspects. So I want to speak to some of the highlights in the areas that I feel are important for council. The largest item on the balance sheet is our property, plant, and equipment. In 2020, we invested $2.1 million in infrastructure to support the town's growth and our system renewal projects. $400,000 of this was funded by the developers. This is a decrease from 2019, and this is partially due to the impacts from COVID, and which had resulted in delays from developers. Our note payable has no change since the inception. So this is an interest-only, non-principal bearing note, and we paid approximately $136,000 to the town in interest in 2020. In 2020, we also procured $1.5 million in debt from Infrastructure Ontario. These funds were allocated to our capital projects, and this was a 30-year term at 2.83%. Important to note, though, is the revaluation of our employee future benefits. So this is an actuarial valuation that is done every 3 years. The $135,000 adjustment is a non-cash adjustment based on assumptions, and these changes were reflected as an expense in 2020. Lastly, we have shareholder equity, and shareholder equity is the net change in income less dividends. The lower income in 2020 did have an impact on the change in the shareholder equity. So I'm going to speak a little bit to the consolidated statement of comprehensive income, and I'll break that down into revenues, expenses, and then at last I'll speak to the net income. When we're looking at revenues, revenues include the sale of power, and most of the increase in 2020 was a result of a regulation change that resulted from that was in relation to the change in how we are accounting for the Ontario electricity rebate. The sale of power is a pass-through, so there's no impact to the net income. When we're looking at distribution service revenue, this is where we do earn a return and what we use to operate our business on. Construction revenue from the consolidated Geosands consolidated statements is telecommunications / town and development services. These were higher in 2019 due to a timing difference on the revenue recognition of past projects and an accounting standard change. Some of the variances when we are comparing 2020 to 2019 includes interest revenue of $70,000 and lower construction activity of $75,000. Again, these are both impacted from COVID. In addition, in 2019, we had a one-time recovery from our lost revenue, LRAM, and that was reflected in the 2019 statements. The increase in operating expenses, and I'm going to say this is going to be less construction expenses in 2020, can be attributed to the business development cost of $125,000, strategic planning cost of $90,000, employee future benefit revaluation of $140,000. $40,000 of this is reflected in the other comprehensive income, and new staffing / labor cost increases. There was also an increase in depreciation expense of $40,000. When we're looking at the net income and the change in net income for 2020 to 2019, the largest one-time impacts are going to be from business development of $125,000, strategic planning cost of $90,000, and the employee benefit valuation of $140,000. Combined, we're looking at about $355,000. Net of tax, you're into that 260 to 270 range. So when we're looking at borrowing and investment capabilities, for 2021 to 2023, the utility projected to invest $11.1 million in capital projects, and this will be leveraged with debt at approximately 57%. This will go to support system renewal and growth projects. To date, or in the future, we will look to have an investment of approximately $2 million into a substation, and the total of that project will be approximately $4 million. And this is expected to be ready in 2020. Over the next 4 years, the increase in capital spend will allow us to build capacity and deliver capital plans that will be long-term and sustainable. We are looking to manage our capital structure to be in line with industry averages. So we're looking in that 60-40 to 50-50 range. We are also in the process of updating our distribution system plan. As each of the subsidiary companies of Geosands look to grow, the availability to acquire funding from external borrowers may be required. And lastly, we're going to look at shareholder value. So since the companies were incorporated in 2000, Geosands has paid $3.49 million in interest to the town and $3.56 million in dividends. The utility maintains one of the lowest costs in the province in delivering power to its customers. And the capital enhancement plan will maintain and improve system performance while at the same time increasing the value of the company over time. As we continue to invest, the value of the company increases every year. The board of directors declared $305,000 in dividend as a result of the 2020 financial results and paid $136,000 in interest in 2020. In addition, we supported the community with over $30,000 in donations and provided support of $45,000 in COVID assistance funds to our customers. The remaining equity gain in 2020 will be reinvested back into our capital projects. So I want to conclude by saying that Geosands Inc. is in a solid financial position to continue our path on increasing shareholder value, delivering exceptional customer service, recognizing our environmental responsibilities, and ensuring we provide safe and reliable system power to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon and Trent and Dave, for that presentation. We definitely have great staff and board members at our locally owned utility. And I know how much our community appreciates the work that you do, as well as the service that you provide. It is definitely exceptional. I do just want to double check before we open it up to any questions. The motion in front of me on my agenda is that we are just receiving this presentation for information. Was there anything that you require shareholder approval or direction today? I just want to make sure with regard to the auditors, I know in here it says extension of 1 year be granted. Is that, can you address that, Trent, or?
My understanding is that you are receiving this and that no motions are required with respect to the auditor.
Okay, thank you.
So it's really for information.
No, that's perfect. I just wanted to clarify
Thank
that.
you for asking.
Yeah, and maybe we can just get the presentation taken down so I can see everybody on the screen again.
Have someone more technical. Okay, it's at your end. Sorry. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
And we're playing a little bit of musical chair, as Brandon said. So if there are questions, we'll get the appropriate person to come forward. Let me just say that Brandon was appointed Vice President of Finance and Regulatory this year, and he's been an amazing resource. I mean, I use the word amazing a lot with respect to the staff because they are so good at what they do, and it's a privilege for the directors to interact with them. And our challenge as a board is to keep up with them in terms of providing the leadership that we owe them and that we owe you as the shareholder.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for any questions or comments. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to Dave, Trent, and Brandon for a fantastic presentation. I truly believe when our community sees it, they'll have additional faith in a great organization that we at council also have. Also, Trent, don't ever be afraid to use amazing when you are addressing your organization, because it is. And from my point of view as a resident of the town of Wasaga Beach, I am so happy that we have a locally owned distribution company, and thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think it was either Trent or Dave who said that when they were doing the survey, 30% of people didn't really know about Wasaga distribution. And that's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you're saying they don't know about it because they're not going, how come our lights are out on a regular basis? And so you go, if you're not having regular outages and if you're not paying huge amounts for the electricity and everything's running efficiently, you tend not to get to know it. I was in Halliburton this last weekend and there was a 5-hour power outage, and I'm going, that's so unknown to us, you know, the odd time these things happen. But according to my sister-in-law, that's not uncommon. So I do agree with Councillor Kinney. I want to salute you guys for being anonymous because you're darn efficient at what you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Mayor Bifulci. It was a very comprehensive report, and I went through the financials and have a few questions, but again, I wear hearing aids and there was a bit of a reverb, so I apologize. You answered quite a number of questions through the presentation, but I just have a few, and I'll give you the page number and the question. But one was on page 3 of the financials. There was a 1.5 million term deposit listed in 2019. And if memory serves me right, that was earmarked for growth opportunities. And in 2020, that no longer appeared. So if it's not a trade secret or something else, I just wondered if you could let us know what happened to that 1.5.
Hi, Councillor Belanger. I'm not 100% sure. We don't really, under accrual-based accounting, we don't really earmark any sort of funds for necessary specific purposes. Are you referring to the 1.5 loan that we had procured?
It was just listed as a 1.5 term deposit.
The term
on
deposit. Okay.
On page 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
sorry.
No, that's like, if you can't answer any of these, you can certainly get back to me. But I'm just. I thought you guys are a lot more familiar with the numbers than what I am as I went through the lines on the financial statement.
Okay, Brandon, is that something you can answer today?
Yeah, the 1.5 was just converted back to cash in 2020. So we haven't really spent it. It's just sitting in our cash and cash equivalents line of our balance sheet.
Okay. probably the biggest one was on page 32. It said wages, salaries, and short-term employee benefits. You indicated the $140,000 adjustment, but it indicated 2020 at $2,847,761 versus $2,101,608 in 2019, which is a significant increase. And I didn't know if your explanation covered all of that amount. That's about a $750,000 increase.
So when we're looking between 2019 and 2020, we had about 6 new positions added to our company in that time. So we're talking the CEO position, we're talking the manager of engineering, we're talking 2 additional engineering staff and 2 additional line staff. So these are generally high skilled labor. And since 2019, that 6 FTEs, they do add up quite a bit. Also, then we're looking at, we had cost of living adjustments, step increases, as well as pay equity review and management review. Thank you.
You had answered about the construction revenue that was down almost 50%, so I won't go there. The next one was on expense general and administrative. There were 3 lines there. One was miscellaneous expense that was up about $230,000. This is on page 39. Went from 103,765 to 335,107. Office in general went up about 70,000 from 181 to 247. And professional services, and I know you did some consulting, but it went from 130,000 to 457,000 in the year. So I didn't know if you could just clarify any of that.
I'll have to get back to you. I'll have to look a little bit into the miscellaneous to see exactly what does drive that. But we're looking at some of the other costs, specifically when we're addressing professional services. In 2020, we undertook succession planning. We had strategic planning. We had a pay equity review, recruitment costs that have gone in there, legal fees, audit fees. We also did a lot of business development. So we had a lot of third-party expenses from business development fees. And as well, we had additional IT costs. We did have a cybersecurity breach in 2020 as well. So we had to have additional costs for that as well. And that kind of does drive most of those costs.
So given some of these sort of extraordinary single year expenses, can we expect, or are we projecting that the dividend to the town will be back to its kind of normal position? We've been around 400,000 for quite a number of years. This year was a 25% reduction, but are we expecting that would rebound in 2022?
Yeah, so generally the dividend is policy driven, but we are optimistic that our financial performance is going to be increasing.
Okay, just 2 more comments. One was 2 years ago when they completed the customer service survey, council was provided the detailed report. So if that's possible, that would be appreciated. And the other thing that I had mentioned in a public council meeting through our mayor who sits on all the boards is we had made a number of changes to board member compensation. And I had asked if we could have a 2-year historical history on total compensation to the board and then a quarterly update just to understand the impact of those changes. I don't know if that's proprietary. It wasn't said at the time, but certainly I, for one, would be interested to see the impact of those changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. I would ask anything, any information that's coming forward, perhaps you could send it to through the CAO or clerk's office, and if it's appropriate to be on an agenda as opposed to just circulated, determine at that time. And actually, since it was raised about compensation and things, and I think it was this report that has sparked it in the community, there seems to be a new rumor going around that I have now given myself a pension. and compensated myself more. So I'm going to take this opportunity to say I have not given myself a pension. Apparently I did it very quietly and sneaky. So I'm going to clarify that right now. I do not get a pension for being mayor here in Wasaga Beach. Trent, I see you're back at the table. Did you have some wrap-up comments? You're on mute, Trent. And actually, I see our deputy mayor has just put her card up. So while you're figuring out your mic, maybe I'll go to Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you. Thank you to Wasaga Resources and team for presenting today. It's always good to see the numbers and hear just how much the community does appreciate having our own distribution system. Quick question further to Councillor Belanger's request for the compensation. If that report is being prepared, I would just ask that it maybe go back 5 years or 6 years, because I think there's been a number of changes. Some of them were retroactive, and I just think if we're looking at compensation, then let's look at the whole picture. So thank you.
Thank you. That's a very good point. Thank you for raising that.
And I apologize that I was on mute, and I am so technically incompetent with this system, I didn't know how to unmute myself. But
Okay.
certainly with respect to compensation, we will very much look into that, and within whatever our bounds are, we have a good relationship with the town, and we want to be open and share that wherever we can, and we will do that as well as we can. It's a valid concern.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to thank the three gentlemen for their presentation today. And I've been approached by many citizens in the community that really appreciate the fact that we own this utility and the quiet level of competence of our board, of all three boards and their chairs, and especially through the pandemic that we've been going through, that they feel a real sense of confidence with what's happening with WDI as they do with this council. They like quiet, competent leadership, and that's what we've been seeing, and they're doing a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you for those comments. I don't see any other cards. So with that, I will look for a mover and seconder for this motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. The council received the Geosands Inc. Annual General Meeting presentation and 2020 consolidated financial statements from the Geosands Chair, President, CEO, and Vice President of Finance and Regulatory for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Again, thank you to Brandon, Dave, and Trent. Have a great day.
Thank you. And I hope that all of your days are good too. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will go on to comment and question period. Madam Clerk, I don't believe we had anyone registered, but I will ask.
Thank you, Your Worship. That's correct. We do not.
Okay, thank you. And we're just almost at the hour-and-a-half mark, so I think we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and carry on with the agenda. Okay, I think we're all back, right? Okay. Dina, are we able to begin again then?
Yes, please.
Okay. So next is unfinished business. We have none. Correspondence received for information. We have one from Perth County. If I could have a mover and seconder for this motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. The council received the letter dated August 16th, 2021 from Perth County Office of the Warden pertaining to a relationship with MPAC for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wondering, since the province has requested a a property assessment and taxation review, if this would be a time, if they decide to do that, about looking at our M&R lands once again. I know we've challenged that before and had some rulings on it, but maybe an opportunity to look at that one more time if this happens. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just look to the CAO. I know this is on a one of our lists of things to do, but George, can you speak to that?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I think that it would be appropriate to raise this issue as part of that review that's outlined in the letter.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Correspondence requiring action, there is none. Correspondence referred, there is none. Moving on to committee and board and staff reports, coordinated committee minutes. We will move to Councillor Kinney, please, for community services.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the August 19th, 2021 Community Services section of Coordinated Committee. Development Services section of Coordinated Committee held a public meeting regarding a zoning bylaw amendment proposed by Brook Valley Wasaga Limited for its residential development to proceed as planned at 601 Sunnydale Street South. Town staff have not completed a detailed review of the application, but will provide a recommendation to council later. A second public meeting took place for Beechwood Development Incorporated, which requires an official plan amendment, zone bylaw amendment, and draft plan of condominium for its project to proceed. The property is in the West End on the north side of Beechwood Road, south of Shore Lane. Numerous members of the public spoke to this application. Town staff will conduct a detailed review of the various planning applications and comments received, and then make a recommendation to council. Committee is recommending that council approve Wasaga Cruisers Fun Run on September the 11th at Stonebridge Gazebo. Committee also recommends that council approve use of the town stage as an in-kind donation for the duration of the event. Finally, committee recommends council approve an unbudgeted expenditure of $12,000 to support the replacement of fluorescent and track lighting at the library as outlined in the related staff report. Funds will come from the carryover of the bookmobile retrofit project and the library general reserve. On behalf of the community services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments of Councillor Kinney's report? Okay, moving on to Councillor Watson, Public Works.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the August 19th, 2021 Public Works section of Coordinated Committee. Committee is recommending that council approve awarding a contract for a new storage building to Prestige Builders, Inc. to be located at the Wasaga Sports Park. The prefabricated metal building replaces a pole barn that collapsed last winter at an adjoining town property. Insurance is funding the bulk of the cost for the new building, with the $40,000 balance coming from the park's general reserves. The insured value is approximately $456,000. Staff anticipate the concrete foundation and floor installation will take place this fall, and the building will be erected and operational by spring 2022. Committee received the Water Pollution Control Plant and Drinking Water System monthly performance reports. Reports show the systems are operating to provincial standards. Finally, the public transit reports received for information show continued steady use of buses. Nearly 4,900 rides occurred on Wasaga Beach Transit in July, almost on par with rides for the same period a year ago. Year-to-date ridership sits at 29,169. Public transit remains an affordable way to get around our community, and the county Lynx buses permit access to other points in the county. Earlier this summer, the town launched its new online Wasaga Beach Transit Portal. Riders can reload their transit card through the portal, set up automatic reloading, report cards as lost or stolen, and manage multiple transit cards on behalf of family members. The portal is at www.wasagabeach.com and represents town's ongoing commitment to improving customer service. On behalf of the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee, I ask the council approve the recommendations in this report.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments of Councillor Watson's report? Okay, moving on to Development Committee, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the August 19th, 2021 Development Services section of the Coordinated Committee. Committee is recommending the council authorize staff to issue an RFP for the completion of the proposed West Wasaga secondary plan. The plan will be a focused review of the development policies for the west end of Wasaga Beach. The study will result in policies that will be part of the town's official plan. Committee also recommends that council direct staff to start a zoning bylaw amendment to clarify the definition of restaurant in the comprehensive zoning bylaw. The proposed minor amendment intends to clarify that restaurants licensed by the AGCO can serve alcohol in all zones where restaurants are allowed in the town. Committee received a report for information regarding 705 River Road West, a property at the rear of the Bayside Plaza. The report notes the town will lift the holding H symbol from the property when the owner, M6 Developments, registers the site plan, which is nearly in its final form. The removal of the hold will allow the issuing of building permits for a 4-story, 117-suite retirement home. The committee also received a report for information regarding phase 1 of the draft plan of subdivision PS 0216. The Zancor development is off Ramblewood Drive. Zancor has requested the removal of the holding symbol on the property to allow for the issuing of building permits for 123 single detached lots. The town will remove the hold for this property when Zancor satisfies the related conditions. Staff appreciates Zancor applying for the building permits this fall. As well, committee received for information a report on the property at 34 Constance Boulevard. The town will remove the holding symbol from the property, provided the owner obtains a permit from the NVCA, not Wasaga Valley Conservation Authority, which regulates the land. The property owner plans to take down the existing dwelling on the land and build a new 2-story dwelling. The committee also received the building department summary for July, which notes the department issued 147 building permits with a total estimated construction value of 28 million. This highlights the continued strong development interest in Wasaga Beach, which, by the way, Your Worship, is by far a record of any year we've ever had. And finally, committee received the branding strategy request for proposals report for information and approved the issuing of the related RFP. The town is seeking proposals from qualified consultants to create a new brand. A successful branding strategy will redefine the town's image and highlight the town's unique identity. On behalf of the Development Service Section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the reports or the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Councillor Foster's report? Okay, moving on to Deputy Mayor Bray for General Government, please.
Thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. Following are the highlights from the August 19th, 2021 General Government section of Coordinated Committee. Committee passed a motion directing staff to research options for online or in-person educational services for members of council on the Indigenous history of our area and the history of the residential school system in Canada. Staff will report to committee on their findings. Committee approved the 2022 budget process and schedule. Staff work on the budget is underway and Committee of the Whole will receive a first draft on October the 7th. Committee is also recommending that council award the contract for the purchase of a new single axle service truck complete with dump utility body and toolbox storage compartment to Lewis Motor Sales Inc. at a cost of $155,312. Staff sourced the vehicle through an RFP process as per the town's purchasing policy. Committee is recommending that council grant pre-budget approval for renovations of the municipal law enforcement department and kitchen area on the lower level of town hall at a cost of $110,000, taking 50% from the COVID-19 grant reserve funds and 50% from the parking reserve. In addition, committee recommends council authorize a furniture deposit of approximately $25,000 for spending in 2021, set up as a prepaid expense for the 2022 fiscal year when the project is complete. The result of the renovation will improve physical distancing and space for staff and the public, plus better egress and safer travel lines to and from the exits. Committee recommends that council request the CAO to develop a plan for temporary beach amenities for the area between 1st and 3rd Streets for council's consideration as part of the 2022 budget process. As part of the redevelopment of town-owned lands at the beachfront, the intent is to demolish the existing buildings early next spring. The temporary amenities would serve the area until the redevelopment of the site is complete. Finally, committee is recommending that council delegate authority to the CAO under the town's procurement policy to approve change orders with a value between $15,000 and $100,000 related to the construction of the new twin pad arena and library. As it stands, there is a gap between the CAO's delegated authority to approve change orders and the authority granted to the construction steering group. The recommended change will fill the gap between the authority granted the CAO under the procurement policy and the authority granted to the steering group by council. On behalf of the General Government Services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments of Deputy Mayor Bray's report? Okay, can I have a mover and seconder for the Coordinated Committee minutes, please? Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Kinney. The council received the Coordinated Committee reports of August 19th, 2021 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. All those in favor? It's carried unanimously. Item 8.2 accounts. Deputy Mayor Bray, did you wish to speak to these?
Thank you. There are 2 months on this month's agenda, and wanted to just confirm that they have been reviewed by the individual standing committees and confirmed at Coordinated Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And a mover and seconder for these, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Wells, that council approved the June 1st to 30th, 2021 accounts in the amount of $11,467,147.58 and the July 1st to 31st, 2021 accounts in the amount of $3,652,556.81. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. 8.3, a report regarding proclamations and flag raisings. A mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Kinney. The council received the information report pertaining to proclamations and flag raisings for the month of August 2021 for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. 8.4, a report from the Director of Public Works with regard to a tender award recommendation. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Watson. The council does hereby authorize the award of contract number PW 2021-25 Shoreline Drainage Improvements 39th Street to 41st Street to Leading Edge Earthworks in the amount of $777,686.76, which includes contingencies and the non-refundable HST of $13,450.56, which is 1.76%, and further that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the agreements for the works. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. 8.5, with regard to a Director of Public Works report. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Foster. The council authorized that the consulting engineering services for detailed design of Beach Area 1 roadways, including streetscaping RFP PW 2021-09, be awarded to Tatum Engineering in the amount of $687,500, which excludes HST, plus the additional non-refundable HST 1.76% portion of $12,100 for a total assignment cost of $699,600, and further that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the associated agreement. Discussion, Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. I just had a little bit of a concern here in that, this was 80% technical and 20% financial. But the history of both these companies, the two leading candidates in the tender, has been exceptional with the town. And the winning bid is $94,000 more expensive on a 4.5 point difference in technical. Given the history of these firms, I just find that extra 94,000, it's actually a 15% increase in cost. Pretty significant. I think, in my opinion, it should be reconsidered. Thank you.
And I see our Director of Public Works is here. Kevin, did you wish to address that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't necessarily have any response to that other than this is a consistent approach that we take with all of our RFPs in terms of technical and financial. We take great pride in reviewing these impartially and they're scored accordingly independently. And then we come together to develop the total ranking and scoring for each proponent. The proposal from Tatham Engineering was excellent and considerably higher ranked technically than the second low being Ainley Group. However, the process that was followed is consistent with our process, and we're very confident with Tatham taking the lead on this. And they did demonstrate not only meeting all of the desired requirements through the RFP terms of reference, but also had a number of added value services throughout the context of their proposal as well. But this is the financial and technical criteria that's established at the outset of the proposals, and all of the consultants are aware of our evaluation criteria. So we remain confident with the recommendation before council.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, I've already read the motion. All those in favor? Those opposed, so that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.6, committee appointments. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. That Schedule B to Bylaw 2018-98, being appointments to local boards, be amended by inserting Deborah Barkhouse, Jeff Burke, and Ron Skelly as the 3 new members of the Age Friendly Community Advisory Committee. That Schedule B to Bylaw 2018-98, being appointments to local boards, be amended by adding 1 representative from Simcoe County Housing to the Age Friendly Community Advisory Committee as a non-voting member. And further, that Schedule B to Bylaw 2018-98 be amended by reducing the number of representatives from key service provider organizations in the health, recreation, and transportation sectors in the Age Friendly Community Advisory Committee from 4 to 3. Is there any discussion on this item? And all those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next is the CIO's verbal update with regard to COVID. So Mr. CIO, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Worship. Happy to provide an update to members of council. I'm joined today by Michael Jennings, our communications coordinator, and our deputy fire chief, Craig Williams, who will be providing their respective updates, and I'll follow with the command team update.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's about 5 points that I just wanted to provide to council as my update this morning. The first is that on August the 3rd, the province said elementary and secondary school students would return to the classroom 5 days a week starting this fall. And as I'm sure you have read, local boards are getting ready for that to happen in the next week or so. August 17th, the province said it has put its plans to lift all remaining public health restrictions on hold. And this is being done to what is being called a difficult fall and winter that is expected to happen due to COVID. August 23rd, we heard that a member of the province's science advisory table resigned, alleging politics and influencing. This was Dr. David Fissman. Public Health Ontario said Friday that achieving herd immunity will not be possible without an approved vaccine for children under 12, and government officials and medical experts continue to review what this means. And we're seeing an uptake across the province in the number of new COVID cases. Ontario reported yesterday just under 700 new cases, and the province-wide rate is at a high that's not been seen in almost 3 months. So that's a little bit concerning. The bulk of the new cases, more than 500, are in people that are not fully vaccinated or not vaccinated at all. And so go get your vaccinations is what I have to say to that. And that concludes my portion of the report, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Jennings? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Deputy Chief, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, members of council. Provincially, there have been 565,000 cases, including 550,000 recoveries and 9,498 deaths. There are currently 160 COVID positive patients in provincial ICUs, and that number includes 93 individuals on ventilators. The provincial testing positivity rate is 3.6%, and to date, Ontario has conducted over 17.2 million COVID-19 tests. Provincially, 83.5% of individuals over 12 years old have received a single dose of vaccine, with 77.6% being fully immunized. More locally in Simcoe Muskoka, the total number of reported cases now sits at 12,809 cases, with 12,355 recoveries and 256 deaths. There were 145 new cases reported to the health unit last week, which is 14% higher than the 127 cases reported for the week of August the 15th. There are currently 8 individuals that are hospitalized within Simcoe Muskoka, and the 7-day moving average of new cases is 23.5 cases per day. The percent positivity rate for Simcoe Muskoka is 1.5%, and there are 2 active outbreaks in the region, including 1 community setting and 1 education setting. Within Simcoe Muskoka, 81% of individuals over 12 years old have received 1 dose of vaccine, while 74% are now fully immunized. And finally, within Wasaga Beach, as of yesterday, we've had a total of 283 cases, and that number includes 1 individual currently in hospital, 11 isolating in the community, the 5 deaths, and 266 recoveries. 12 of the cases were listed during the last week, with the most recent case being listed on August 29th. In Wasaga Beach, 83.4% of our community over 12 years old is vaccinated with 1 dose, and 76.8% is now fully immunized. And a final update on our current vaccine progress within town is, now that the majority of residents are now fully immunized, the regular operations of the mass vaccine clinic located at the Recplex are now wrapping up. The South Georgian Bay Community Health Center is going to be continuing to run the COVID-19 testing clinics on Tuesday and Thursday mornings in the parking lot, and they will increase those appointment times if needed. You will continue to see occasional pop-up clinics occurring at the Recplex moving forward, and the following evening clinics are available from 3:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. inside the Recplex. There's a clinic actually happening today at the Recplex. There will be another one next Tuesday, September the 7th, and the following Thursday on September the 16th. And then additionally, there is a pop-up clinic that will be located at the beachfront on Sunday, September 5th, during the Memories of Summer fireworks event. The vaccine will be available to our community from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Beach 1. And this is another partnership between the health unit and the Wasaga Beach Fire Department. During the event, the firefighters will be providing fire truck tours and fire safety educations to children, and the health unit staff will be available to answer vaccine-related questions. And that concludes my update for council.
Thank you, Craig. Are there any questions for Craig? Oh, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just again like to reiterate how proud I am of our community and the fire department, and working in conjunction with the health unit, that they are going to the people, providing these services to get everyone immunized as quickly as possible and get our percentages up even higher. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Worship. And yeah, kudos to Craig and his people on doing their utmost to make our community safe. Just I guess, a thought process. If we're going to have our fire trucks there, and that's awesome. Anytime we have the ability to show the community the resources we have as a community and educate them at the same time, that's great. I'm just wondering whether or not it would make sense from your perspective, Deputy Chief, to reach out to your neighbor to the west and see whether or not the OPP would like to do the same, whether or not they have the resources. Just a thought process. Thank you.
Craig?
Excellent idea. They're actually here for a meeting this morning and the question's been posed. I just don't have an answer yet, but absolutely the invite's been sent out to our other community partners. Great idea.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other cards. So Mr. CAO, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the command team has not met since August 17th, so I don't have too much to update members of council from the last update I provided on August 19th, but there are a couple of items that I just want to speak to. Behind the scenes, staff have been collecting sample municipal vaccination policies from across Ontario as they have become available. The Deputy Chief and the Manager of Human Resources are reviewing these policies, and the command team will receive an update next week. We'll be looking to expand services at the arena as we move into the fall, such as opening up the showers and the canteen. Excuse me. As we transition into fall, we'll be reviewing the indoor capacity limits at our various facilities as indoor programs start to ramp up. Finally, we're waiting to hear from the province on a proposed vaccination passport, and we will be reviewing the implications on town operations when that announcement is made. And we're anticipating that to take place later this week. Your Worship, members of council, that concludes my comments, and I'd be happy to take any questions members of council may have.
Okay, thank you, George. Any questions for the CAO? Councillor Foster.
Yes, Your Worship. It may not be exactly for the CAO, but when we talk about vaccination passports and mandates for workplaces, there's always this discussion about, civil liberties and all that versus health of the community. And I, for one, am going to be always pushing for health of the community. When we have numbers like 83% of our community had the first vaccine, and I think it was 76% had both. And I said, that's great, but it's still, I've been to events recently where people have identified themselves as non-vaccinated and have chosen not to wear masks or wear it below their nose and all this. And if questioned, the comment tends to be, well, they don't know what's in the vaccine. That's a common, and I understand people have medical conditions, and I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm just pointing out I've had people say, well, they don't know what's in the vaccine. And a couple things come up to me with that is, first, if they did get a list of ingredients, they wouldn't know what they did. Second, I don't know what was in my chemo drugs, but I didn't really question it because it works. And we've seen proof that it works. I also don't specifically know what's in a Big Mac, yet I eat them, or for that matter, a margarita. So I do want to encourage everybody to sit there and think about the community as a whole, because we're in this together and it's been a long time. And frankly, I would like to be back meeting together and be safe and allow our kids to play hockey, as George has said, or, all those things where we can meet together and be safe. So I want to encourage everyone to really think about, the science behind it, not what you read on Facebook. So thank you, Your Worship. Those are my comments.
Thank you. And I think, the CAO and I have had these discussions, and when it comes down to any mandatory requirements and things like that, we will be looking to our health professionals to make those determinations, because I'm not a health expert, and we really need their direction and their leadership right now. Otherwise, we're going to have a province that is made up of a whole bunch of different rules for everybody, and they really need to step up and make their professional opinions and thoughts on that known. So, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. I didn't really have anything to add to that. I think that certainly the policies that I've seen to date that I've forwarded to the Deputy Chief and our Manager of Human Resources apply to not only staff, members of council, and volunteers. And they do provide limitations with respect to the requirement to get vaccinated, to respect the Human Rights Code and religious beliefs and that kind of thing. So we're looking at these to try to come up with a Wasaga Beach policy that we can bring forward for council consideration. But as the mayor indicated, it would be very helpful if there was some guidance provided from the health unit and perhaps the provincial Ministry of Health, so that we can avoid a patchwork of different vaccination policies across the county, and as we're seeing develop across the province of Ontario. I think a lot of what we're seeing now is being developed individually based on the advice of individual health units. And certainly from the town's perspective, we're waiting for advice from the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit on vaccination policies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder for this report to receive for information? Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Kinney. The council received the August 31st, 2021 verbal COVID-19 update from the CAO for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to community announcements, we will start today with Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been trying to take advantage of the amazing weather when it wasn't too hot to do road trip getaways locally, explore our county and the area. As well, I've got in the habit of, I'm now trying to walk every beach area from one end to the other. So my goal is by the end of September is to have actually trod every inch of our beach. And as always, just responding to calls and emails from residents and businesses. That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blanchet.
Thank you, Mayor Bifulci. Yes, on August 7th, I attended CrossFit Mazomo grand opening, and I apologize if I pronounced that name incorrectly. Many residents have contacted me about property standards matters and other things, which I have followed up. And I attended this past weekend the Back to the Beach concert. And further to the discussion on COVID, I see a lot of people that have been vaccinated that are getting quite comfortable. And I just want to remind people that we can still be non-systematic. And if even outside, if you find yourself in close proximity to other people, you should wear a mask. And I also want to apologize. I missed a couple of grand openings. My mom has been in hospital with pneumonia. I'm happy to report that she was released yesterday back to her retirement home. So that's a good thing, but it did take up quite a bit of time. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to note about the provincial money that was announced for our General and Marine Hospital in Collingwood, and the efforts of our MPP Jim Wilson over the years. There was a substantial amount of money granted, and I guess it's still to be resolved whether it's going to be a renovation of the existing hospital or moving out to the Poplar Side Road, but the money is very welcome, and it's going to go towards planning and development of a new hospital, an improved hospital. Lots of music going on in the community. I was able to bicycle over to the Stonebridge Back to the Beach music. I've got wonderful comments back on the Rocking the River event that the town participated in, and the open patio music program also. So people are enjoying the music and the good weather that allows them to be out on our open patios. The Wasaga Society for the Arts held a show for artist Jason George, a black and white presentation of his work. Attended the Mazomo CrossFit opening on 19th Street in Wasaga Beach, the Christina De Palma and Associates grand opening and a new office on the medical building on 45th Street. The Wasaga Beach Rotary Club, in conjunction with Georgian Bay Forever, have held 4 shoreline cleanup events, 2 in July and 2 in August. They've been very well attended, and every time you go out, I know myself, you go out, you're never skunked. There's always something to pick up. So it's they've done a very good job of getting people out, and it's a lovely walk on the beach, as Councillor Foster says. And the farmers market is continuing well. For change, it hasn't been rained out for a week or two, and there's another one this afternoon, and the weather looks pretty good for that too. So it's a lovely time to go there and see a lot of people and participate with some of our local vendors. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Worship. Attended the openings for the CrossFit and for Value Buds Cannabis, and have responded to a few resident business concerns, looking for direction on how to navigate Town Hall. And that's been it for the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to quickly cover 2 items. First item is a skateboard competition that was held through the youth center. And that happened on the 20th of August, being a Saturday. Quick notes that we had 22 participants, over 100 spectators. The grill raised over $200, and there was over $1,000 worth of prizes donated. I had the opportunity to go by it a couple times, and it looked very, very well attended. And I'm hoping that maybe through the youth center and Angela's expertise, we can keep this as an annual event, because I think it really helped and showed really good effort for our youth in the town. It was well participated. My second item, Your Worship, is, and I'll just quickly throw something up on the camera here, Terry Fox. The virtual run is going to be held on the 19th of this, or September. It's not this month yet. T-shirts are still $20. And that's the same as pre-COVID pricing. Let me know through Facebook or some other form that you can get a hold of me with, and I'll do my best to get a T-shirt, which Councillor Foster asked me to demonstrate here. So that's the T-shirt front, and this is the T-shirt back. Considering it's the community announcements, I felt confident I could do something like that, Your Worship. And also don't forget, if you're inclined, because the town is raising a lot of money for Terry Fox, again, as they always do, don't be afraid to go to terryfox.org and donate. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. That T-shirt's probably the only thing that hasn't increased since COVID. So Deputy Mayor Bray.
Certainly a fair comment. It seems like everything is more expensive these days. Another busy month. I think the beach has been incredibly busy with visitors. The weather has cooperated. Was able to spend a few mornings walking along with the Rotary Club, picking up litter. Spent a day down there with my girlfriends, actually swimming in the lake. You know, and as residents, sometimes I think we don't do enough of that. So the beach, the water is wonderfully warm this year. In between, I attended the AMO conference virtually. I think there's a real challenge to attending a virtual conference, but it was really well done, and super excited to hear that at this point, everything is being planned for an in-person conference next year. Ribbon cuttings, I think most of them were mentioned. There was the art exhibit with J. George's great artwork. Christina De Palma, Starbuds over at 45th Street, CrossFit, and attended a number of the county council meetings. And then kind of an interesting sideline of that, or side shoot of that, was the service delivery review meetings. So the county is undergoing a lot of reviews to actually look at the efficiency of the services that are being delivered municipally as well as countywide to see if there's some efficiencies there. And I know the mayor, the CAO, different members of our community were able to participate in those fact gathering missions. So I think it's really great that we can get our input in there as well, taking a number of resident calls and concerns. Everybody's new garbage bins and recycling bins are rolling out. I know at this point, the reaction is mixed. Just ask everyone to please give it a try. They've done this in other areas. It works really well. There was a number of reasons they were chosen, and look forward to kind of seeing how we roll it out in Wasaga Beach in November when we start using them. So thanks.
Thank you. For myself, I attended several meetings dealing with the county's regional government review, Wasaga distribution board meetings, as well as their staff appreciation barbecue, county council, several arena and library construction meetings. I was in attendance for the announcement at Collingwood Hospital that was already mentioned by Councillor Watson. Several ribbon cuttings, which has been mentioned. And I did have the pleasure of greeting a group of motorcyclists who came to town, and it's a ride that they do from coast to coast to combat PTSD. And they were a great group, and kudos to them for bringing awareness to this and doing what they're doing. It was a great opportunity to meet all of them. And that is my report. So moving on, we will go to notices of motion. I don't believe we have any motions where notice has been previously given. I'm not aware of any. And calling of committee meetings, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. Looking at the September calendar, our first scheduled meeting is a coordinated committee on Thursday, September 9th at 9 a.m. We may be requesting a special meeting of council earlier in the week. Stay tuned for that. It'll most likely be on Tuesday at 11:30, but confirmation will go out from the clerk's office if one is requested. Our committee of the whole meeting for September is scheduled for Thursday, September 16th at 9 a.m. And it's a virtual meeting, as is the coordinated committee meeting. And the council meeting for September is Tuesday, September 28th, commencing at 2 p.m. And that is a virtual meeting as well. Thank you, Worship.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to bylaws, if I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Wells. Resolved that the following bylaws be received and be deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time passed and numbered as follows. 2021-72, a bylaw to authorize the execution of the transfer payment agreement for assistance with initiatives to promote tourism in Bruce Grey Simcoe, Ontario Tourism Region 7. Fabrication and installation of tourism wayfinding signage between Regional Tourism Organization 7 and the town of Wasaga Beach. 2021-73, a bylaw to authorize the execution of agreements between the town of Wasaga Beach and the Ontario Ministry of Infrastructure Program Delivery Branch. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Foster.
Sorry, Your Worship. I just wanted to point out that the Ontario Ministry grant is for some renovations, if I've got the right one, at fire station number 2. And it's I forget the exact number, $360,000 or $400,000. I want to comment to the general public that our staff are constantly looking for funds to help offset it. So if we don't necessarily get something for project number 1, we get it for project number 2, or we're trying. So, it still helps the benefit of all of the town. So I just wanted to point out, and kudos to our staff for looking for every opportunity to find funding from other levels, not the taxpayer, or not from property tax. It's still the taxpayer. I get it. But anyway, that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing further, all those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. I could have a mover and seconder for our closed session. To move into closed session, Councillor Kinney, Councillor Wells. Resolved that pursuant to section 239(2) D, F, I, and K of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the August 31st, 2021 regular council meeting will move into closed session to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We will give it just 5 minutes and let those into the meeting that should be here. Okay, so we are recording again. We are now back in open session. If I can have a mover and seconder for item 15.1, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Wells. The council received the information provided by legal counsel in closed session pertaining to a contractual matter. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 15.2, a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Foster. The council confirms the direction provided to the coordinator, fundraising, and sponsorship in closed session pertaining to a financial agreement matter. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 15.3, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wells, Councillor Watson. The council confirmed the direction provided to the manager, human resources, in closed session pertaining to labor relations and negotiations. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 15.4, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. The council confirms the direction provided to the CAO in closed session pertaining to labor relations and negotiations. All those in favor? And carried unanimously. Item 15.5, a mover and seconder. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Belanger. The council received the external board meeting minutes of June 24th, 2021, provided in closed session for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And 15.6, closed session minutes, a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Wells. Resolved that council received the following closed session reports as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Regular meeting of council, July 27th, 2021, closed session minutes. Special meeting of council, August 5th, 2021, closed session minutes. Coordinated committee, August 19th, 2021, closed session minutes. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And the confirmatory bylaw, if I could have a mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Foster. Resolved that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach at its regular meeting held Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 be received and be deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered 2021-74. All those in favor? And carried unanimously. And with that, we are adjourned.